At first glance, the gospel text of today, taken from Mark chapter 10, verses 2 to 16, might seem to be speaking about marriage and divorce. That is true, but it is talking of marriage and divorce only on the surface level. On the deeper level, the gospel text is talking about fidelity in one's chosen way of life, and so is not addressed only to married couples, but is addressed to every single individual. Each one of us makes a choice about a way of life. Some prefer to remain bachelors, others prefer to remain spinsters, still others get married, and still others might join religious life or become priests. This is usually the way we respond to life. No matter what response we might have given, what we need to do is, we need to be faithful to the response that we have made. In the case of a bachelor or a spinster, the person does not have to remain a bachelor or spinster all of their lives, and may, after some time, opt for being married, or opt for the religious life, or opt to be a priest. However, in the case of those who are married and the case of those who are religious and priests, we have made a permanent commitment. As a matter of fact, in the first reading of today, taken from the book of Genesis, we are told very clearly that human beings, male and female, complement each other, complete each other, are meant to be together with each other. And that is what Jesus takes up in his response when he is asked about divorce. The word divorce here must not only be used as divorce from marriage, but must be used as a metaphor for giving up one's way of life. And so it can also be used for a priest or for a religious in giving up their commitment to God in this way of life and opting for another way of life. And so it is addressed to both married couples, and also it is addressed to priests, religious, and those who have made a commitment in any way of life. The Lord says that when you make a commitment, you have made your commitment knowingly. Surely situations have changed. Surely things have changed. Surely it is not the way you thought it would be. And yet, you need to ask yourself whether you are opting for the other way of life too easily, or whether you are going to make every attempt to live the way of life that you are being called to. To be sure, sometimes it is not possible to stay in a marriage because of a variety of reasons. And the church has got opportunities, the church has got ways of deciding whether individuals, after consulting them, after interviewing them, after dialoguing with them, after a lot of prayer and reflection, need to be separate and live separate lives. However, the reason why it is not given too easily, or as easily as some would want it, is because the commitment is not made easily. Before an individual gets married, a lot of thought, a lot of energy, a lot of dedication goes into making that decision. And so, it is not the decision to be made lightly. Before a person joins religious life, before a person becomes a priest, even that decision is made after a lot of thought, a lot of reflection, a lot of prayer. And that's why it should not be given up so easily. To be sure, a person might not always be able to live up to that commitment for the rest of that person's life, and that is between the person or the persons and God. Yet, generally, each one of us is called to fidelity. Each one of us is called to be faithful to our choices we have made, and not to look for options because this life is challenging. Married life has its own challenges. Religious life and the life of a priest has its own challenges, and yet being a priest and having married siblings, I know that the life of a married person is infinitely more challenging than the life of a priest. In my book, every single married person is a saint, and all married people are going to go to heaven, because it is tremendously challenging to live the life of a married person, to be faithful, to be true, to believe in each other, to adjust with each other, and yet you continue to live those challenging lives, and I believe that you will be the first in the line to heaven. And so, while it is true that sometimes you may have to opt to go outside of this way of thinking, and that is after prayer, discernment, and reflection, you can surely do. Let it not be the usual way, let it not be the normal way. Let me strive to do as much as I can to make my marriage work, to make my priesthood work, to make the life I have chosen work. And if after all that I could do, it does not seem to have changed, then after consulting those outside of me, after talking in prayer and listening to God, I make my decision. I pray in a special way today for every one of us, because each one of us has made our commitment to some way of life or other, that we be true, that we be faithful, that we persevere and keep on keeping